Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And this is so exciting. We are back talking musical theater. Nothing makes me more happy than musical theater. I love it so much. And I am film and theater critic. This is so exciting. Theater critic, Rich Wagner. And Jax is here to help me with this, to talk about.
Rachel, I am so glad because I am a musical theater nerd and I'm so glad to be able to geek out with you over this stuff.
Yeah. So we had done a episode when it reached the year mark that I had set my goal of supporting local theater, supporting musical theater in general, and we did that in April. In April, and so now it's July, and I have reached my 100th show since being vaccinated that I've seen, which is really amazing for me.
That is epic. When you told me that, like, I know you go a lot, but when you said that, it's like, okay, we have to celebrate.
We had, I've actually now seen 101 because I went to a show on Saturday. So I went to Disney Under the Stars at Deer Valley here. It's one of the ski resorts. They have this amphitheater. I had never been. And a lot of these theaters that I have become really big fans of, I had never been to or heard of. And so that's a joy of this whole project. And I happen to live in a place that is just thriving for local theater. So I'm so blessed to live in Utah because like every little town has their own little theater and sometimes multiple, and they're such good productions. You have a lot of people that were musically trained and could be on Broadway, but are having families or whatever, aren't there. And but the quality of a lot of the productions is very good, very high. And even if it's a more amateurish production, it's still, sometimes that has its own charm. Would you agree?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's both watched and been in many amateur productions, I also feel like there's always something that is really special about any show. Like there's always that magic moment for me that's like, this is why I love theater, you know?
Yeah.
And Rachel, I think it's such a great goal that you have to do this and like this endeavor that you're on, because you might, go and see things as like, okay, great. I see that I want to see the show or this is advertised, but because now this is a goal that you have, you're seeking out new places to see it, pushing yourself to go to different places. And I feel like I really need to commit to doing something like that because I don't do it as much as I should. And I need to start. You're inspiring me.
Well, especially being in there in New York. Oh my gosh. I mean, on How I Met Your Mother, they had the joke of there's Broadway, off Broadway, off Broadway, off, and then whatever play Lily was in, which they were like squirting water into the audience and stuff like that and saying moist all the time.
Bless her.
Yeah. Yes. That was a pretty classic episode. One of these days I'll have to recap How I Met Your Mother, but the ending was just so painful for me. I hated it so much that it's hard, but I did love it for a long time.
If you ever do, you let me know because I love that show. Also, did not like the ending. We could just do like a fan fiction for the ending.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Yeah. One thing that's interesting, the show that I've seen the most is The Driving Chaperone. I've seen it 3 times this year, and it is so popular here in Utah. People love that show, and I love it too. I saw it on Broadway in the previews with Sutton Foster in 2006, and it's hilarious. But it's a pretty saucy show to be so popular in Utah to me.
Well, you know what? I saw it with Sutton Foster too, and I think I'm by the sauciness, but also it is such a star vehicle that I almost couldn't even picture anyone else playing it. So, but you've already seen several.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think the reason, because we love musical theater, musical theater is very popular here in Utah. And going all the way back to pioneer days, one of the first buildings that they built in Salt Lake City was a theater. And so that tradition goes way back. Yeah. And they would put on dances and theatricals as they were crossing the plains and things like that. So it's a very part of Mormon culture and Utah culture and things like that, which I've certainly caught that bug, that's for sure. And but I think that's part of the reason why it's so beloved, the Drowsy Chaperone, because a lot of the saucy parts are kind of implied. There's a lot of gay jokes and a lot of humor in that, but it's really a love letter to musical theater.
Truly,
at the end, and they talk about giving you a tune to hum when you're feeling blue, and that's what a great musical can do. And it was really cool because there's this place called the Hope Box Theater, and they put on each show that they do, they have a Hope Box recipient, and it's somebody who's fighting cancer, that they give a portion of the proceeds to, or and then they also have donations that they ask for, that people make, and I always try to give something every time. And what was cool about the Drowsy Chaperone at Hope Box is I was at the final showing, and so they had both casts there because it's double cast, and they had the man who was receiving the recipient there and the end, and they had him sit in the chair, the man in the chair, and it was just obvious they all loved him so much. He was beloved. It was very, very sweet. I really think that's sort of peak community musical theater.
I can't believe they had him sit in the chair.
Yeah,
that's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah. What was really cool is that in May, I think it was, I got a chance to write for a blog called the Utah Theater Bloggers Association. And I did 2 tests for them. I reviewed Little Women at West Valley, which is such an underrated theater. I'll talk more about them. They were great. And so I reviewed that. And then I reviewed the 39 Steps, which is a play that I love. And it's so funny.
That's really fun.
It's so funny. I've seen it twice now. This was at BYU. It was a small college student production. And they did, a great job. And I was just so happy because they decided to make me basically a full-time writer for them. And there's probably 20 of us writing for the whole Valley. And so that's given me tons of experience because they have gotten me to see shows I would not have otherwise seen, because I'm not that big of a play person. I'm a musical gal. So it's gotten me to see some plays, and it's also gotten me to work on my writing, and particularly theater reviews. It's been a very good learning experience. The editor there has been great. Russell is his name, and he's really helped me. There's certain things that I didn't realize I said a lot in my writing. I guess I would say so-and-so did a great job a lot. Like they did a great job. And he's like, there's probably other ways you could say that.
Funny how when I listen back to myself and things, I'm like, oh, we don't realize it because it's part of who we are.
Mm-hmm. So that's been very helpful. And it's interesting because my thought process for being a film critic is very different than what I've learned about being a theater critic. Because film critics at this point, the audience, the readers don't want to know almost anything about the actual movie because they're so scared about spoilers these days. And so you kind of have to be really vague, like so-and-so. That's probably why I say good job a lot, but he's really vague instead of saying, Hugh Jackman was powerful when he sang Bring Him Home. You can't say that. You have to say in a film review, you have to say Hugh Jackman was great in the role. You have to be more vague. You can't be like specific scenes or what's happened. And there still can be spoilers in musical theater. Like you wouldn't want to say, oh, this happens at the beginning of Phantom of the Opera. Like that would be lame. But in general, when you're writing for theater, I've learned that they want you to be more specific. Okay, so-and-so was good in this song, and this is how they sang it, and this is why I liked it, kind of a thing. And I don't know if it's just that
for you.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. Yeah, to write with more details. And also like at least this publication want you to be very specific about the crew. So-and-so did the costumes, so-and-so, which I think is great, but I've just very rarely done that in film. Like, I mean, obviously it's a Spielberg or it's a, a Jordan Peele or something like that for a director, but like, I rarely would mention the costumes unless it's done by like Tom Ford or, you know what I mean? Like someone that would, or maybe somebody that like calling out would, who's gotten a lot of Oscars, then maybe I might notice that. But for the most part, I wouldn't bring stuff like that up in my review. So it's just been a very, very good learning experience for me.
Yeah, now you're film and theater critic. So
and I would say I'm almost more of a theater critic at this point, is because I actually get paid to write these theater reviews. I don't
Which is awesome.
Film reviews. I mean, they are monetized, but not much. So anyway, that's been a great blessing and been a wonderful experience. And some shows that I saw for the first time since we last talked, I saw Assassins. It was from Sondheim, and that's a
love that one.
Very interesting show. I feel like I sometimes wish Sondheim shows had more like traditional ballads that you could kind of hum when you're leaving the theater. His music tends to be more kind of talk singing and a continual beat throughout the course of the film, and I mean the course of this show. And then they'll have like one or two that are like that kind of cabaret kind of number, like in Into the Woods, Agony, and No One Is Alone. So you have those songs, but it's just not the same as someone like Stephen Schwartz, where there's all these sort of cabaret numbers that and I think that's more my preference, but I do appreciate and value what Sondheim does, obviously. But yeah, this was an interesting one. I mean, it's all about the villains of American history.
Yeah, I saw that one, a college production of it, maybe 10 years ago. And I thought it was a great both history refresher and also told me a lot of things I didn't know or didn't remember.
Yeah. I also saw it at Salt Lake Community College. They have a black box theater. So it was small. And so that was fun. Yeah. See the students perform it, and they did a great job. Incredible. I also saw a show called First Date for the first time.
Christina Rodriguez originated that role, didn't she, on Broadway?
Who?
Christina Rodriguez.
Yes. Yeah. And Zachary Levi.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can actually, I haven't watched it yet, but I finally signed up for Broadway, the Broadway Pro, streaming. I was like, at this point, what am I waiting for? Like, I should sign up for it.
Let it happen.
Broadway HD. That's what it's called. Broadway HD. And they have it on there, Pro Shot. So I'm excited to watch it with.
I should watch it too. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it was cute. I liked it. It was fun. I didn't think any of the songs were all that memorable. There was a funny one about social media, about Google and Facebook and stuff. That was kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know if it really felt like any dates I've ever been on, but I enjoyed it. And it was at this place called the Midvale Main Street Theater. I talked about it last time in talking about their version of Company, and Next to Normal. Incredible. I was kind of sad because they actually now have sold the theater, and it's going to be used for other stuff. And I went to they had a sale of all their props and stuff. But luckily, it's not actually. They're just selling the theater. The company is still existing and is going to be performing at other places. So that's good news. Yeah, because I really appreciated their voice and the quality of the productions, and they were willing to do some more edgy stuff, which I appreciate. So anyway, and then I saw See How They Run. This is another play. This was at Pleasant Grove. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but I told you about the theater in the library.
Oh
yeah. This was there. This was at the library.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and See How They Run is really funny. I mean, it was
I don't know it.
Yeah, so it was written in the 40s. It's about this woman who who marries a vicar. And she's an American. She marries this English vicar. And so various shenanigans happen through the night that there ends up being, I think, 5 men who are all in vicar collar shirts, whatever. And then there's this, and one of those guys is this Russian man who is murderer, crazy person. And then you have her husband, and you have her uncle, who's like the archdiocese, whatever. He's like the head. So he's come to like see how they're doing at the vicarage. And so he becomes involved. And then one of her actor friends, and who's a soldier. It's madcap insanity, hilarious. They are making a movie called See How They Run. There's a trailer for it with Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan. It doesn't look like it has anything to do with the play. It's fun, but I didn't see a single vicar outfit collar. I don't know what those are called, but you know.
Yeah. Not one vicar in the bunch.
No, but it's a really funny show. I died laughing, and it's such a charming place in the library to see a play. So I highly recommend if you get a chance. I saw Passing Strange at the Salt Lake Acting Company. This is the first time I'd been there. And that was really interesting. It's another show that's more sort of experimental and doesn't have like the big numbers. Like there wasn't really a song that really stood out to me, but I thought it was very well done. And the band they had like a 4 or 5 piece jazzy kind of band was excellent. And the singing was all really good. Great to have some diversity in the community. So that was really a good show. Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night, or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. Catch me if you can at a place called Sierra Shell, the Sierra. And I'm not the biggest fan actually of the Tom Hanks Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I don't love it. I think it has its moments that are fun, but I think it drags to me. I don't know. I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. Like they're good actors, but it wasn't that compelling to me either. And so I waited to see this show because I don't love the movie, but I heard so many good things about it. And I went closing night and I saw it and I loved it. It was so good. I thought that it was so well done. All the sets, the 2 lead actors were incredible. Such chemistry. I really liked the songs. To me, I thought they were really catchy and fun. And I guess it didn't get that good of reviews, but on Broadway, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. They did a great job. It's always tricky when a movie is made into a musical. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people have an idea of expectations of what it's going to be. So I enjoy reading reviews, but I also like to go on my own and figure out what I think myself. Yeah. I also saw Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. This was at Midvale Performing Arts, and I thought this was really funny. Very much enjoyed it. I mean, especially anything with the 2 women were really good. Really funny. So that was fun to check that one off my bucket list. I saw Head Over Heels, which is another one that got terrible reviews on Broadway. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was very creative. I don't think I know it. Yeah, it's got the music from the Go-Go's, and it takes this, it's not Shakespeare, but it's somebody like Shakespeare. I forget the name, but it takes a classic play like that and modernizes it. And so the lead couple is a lesbian couple. It's a very queer positive show. And there's this God character that's non-binary. And I thought it was funny, and I really like the Go-Go songs, and it got trounced on by critics. I think it only made it on Broadway for like a couple weeks, which is too bad, but I enjoyed it. So and I saw The Normal Heart. This was one that I did for Utah Theater Lawyers, and it was so wonderful. It was really good. They had you on the stage. The chairs were on the stage. There were probably 100 maybe chairs or whatever, but just a few, maybe 50. I don't know, not very many. And so you were right there with the actors, very close. And if I don't know if you know The Normal Heart, but this James Kramer, that he wrote in 1985, and you just think what that must have been like for this play to, like, at peak AIDS epidemic, to not only to have this play that not only spoke the words AIDS, that talked about the victims, but also was pretty critical of the gay community at the time. It's not a Saturday morning special kind of play. And there's definitely, you can see James Kramer, he was ousted from this advocacy group that he founded to try to help with the AIDS problem. He was kicked out. And so the lead character of the show, of the play, has the same thing happen to him. And you can see that he's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that like he's a very flawed character. It would just been easy to make this thing really trite and really, especially to make it almost propaganda-ish at the time, especially for the time, but it's not how it is at all. And what was really cool at the end of the play, the whole cast got together and sang Homeward Bound, the Irish traditional folk song, Homeward Bound. That was a lovely moment. That was really nice. So that was cool. I also saw Tuck Everlasting for the first time. This is another show that didn't last long on Broadway.
I love the way you're getting all these hits. You're like, you know what? Broadway didn't win it, but we'll take it.
Yeah. I can see why on this one. It's sort of weird. So I don't know do you know the story of Tuck Everlasting?
No.
So Tuck Everlasting, it's this famous book. And basically this girl, she stumbles upon this family that there's the spring and you can live forever, but they like drank of the spring and they didn't know that it was. And so they're just kind of like stuck in their spot. So you have this guy that I forget the name, but you have the lead guy who is like 102 in real life, like in years lived, right? But looks like he's 17. And so he gets along well with the lead girl. I think her name's Winnie, I think. And she's only 14 though. And so they end up with this sort of plan that she's going to come back. He gives her like a sample she's going to come back when she's 17. They're going to get married and then she'll live forever, and they'll live forever when they're 17. So that's kind of, it's a little bit weird. You have like 102 man with a 14-year-old girl, and they're like planning their marriage. And so I don't know, the relationship part of it is a little strange, but I did think the songs are pretty nice and it was fun. It was an outdoor theater, which I love. And have you ever been to any of the Shakespeare Under the Stars, any of those free Shakespeare in the Parks?
Oh yeah, I haven't done the actual. Oh no, I've been to Shakespeare in the Park once, but then I was in a couple Shakespeare stuff outdoors in the parks, and then a lot of my friends the first couple of years we moved here were doing Shakespeare in the Park stuff, like not the Shakespeare in the Park, but other Shakespeare in the Park. I love performing outside, and I love going to see shows outside in the summer. It's so fun.
Yeah, and they have one right now with Ali Stroker in it.
She's wonderful.
One of the free Shakespeare in the Park.
That's awesome.
You should go. I also saw one on my bucket list. I saw The Fantastics.
I love The Fantastics.
Well, I had, of course I heard about it and I try to remember. It's an all-time favorite. I always play that song on around September 11th, because try to remember the time of September when life was, that was so mellow.
If you want to cry.
Yeah, try to remember the kind of September when life was so mellow. It's a great song, one of the greats. But I was really surprised, and maybe it was just this, it was kind of another black box type theater in Center Point in Centerville. I was surprised how experimental it was for a show that ran for 42 years. It's kind of a little bit weird, a little bit out there.
It is. I think that's why I liked it so much, because I was expecting something much more conventional.
Me
and then
too.
when I saw it, it was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, me too. I was expecting something way more conventional. And I remember watching the movie years ago, and it's not a great movie, but I remember thinking, this is kind of weird movie. But now I'm like, I get it, because those are source material. I mean, it's surprising that something that is that unconventional, as you say, that would run for 42 years. Yeah. That's but I guess Cats ran for 18. So what are you going to do?
And it's a teeny tiny theater.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It's super small. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. And then the last new to me show that I saw was a SpongeBob. I saw the SpongeBob show.
Okay. So how was it?
So they did an incredible job. This was also at Sierra, but this was in their outdoor theater. It was Broadway level as far as all the sets, the hair, the costumes, the singing was all top notch. So I enjoyed it. I mean, you're rarely going to find me not enjoying a show. I mean, though I've really only given one negative review, and it was kind of sad, because the first review that they asked me to do for Utah Film Bloggers, the first review that they asked me to do for Utah Theater Bloggers Association was this kind of experimental play called Body Awareness. And, I'm a big body positivity person, so it sounded something I would like. And they did a great job, but I hated the play. And the play used the R word a lot over and over again. And these are supposed to be like intelligent characters that are, and then one has an autistic son, and they made him like a really violent character. Like he's threatening them. He attacks a woman at one point. And I just thought that was such a cliche, when in reality, people that are on the spectrum are actually more likely to be victims of violence, not perpetrators of violence. But there's this cliche, the stereotype out there that they're like kind of scary, or, you see that sometimes. And I thought for a show that was supposed to be progressive, to me, it was very, very regressive. So I hated the play, but, and I was pretty harsh in my review, but I made sure to say it was not the people involved. Like, they did a good job. I just didn't like the play. But
I appreciate you saying that, because I'm okay watching stuff with profanity, but that, like the R word, like that, that would be too much for me. I can't, there's only a few words that I have a difficult time listening to, and that's one of them.
I agree. And so anyway, it was a bummer, because it's the first thing I was reviewing with my name attached to it for Utah Theater Bloggers Association, and for it to be so negative, because 99% of the time I'm positive, and I love going to see the shows. So I was positive on SpongeBob in general, but I guess I was a little bit surprised, because I thought that the book was weird. I was expecting it to be funny, at least a little funny, but the book is very, it's like an apocalyptic end of the world story, which is weird.
Not what I pictured.
No,
not what I
like there's gonna be a volcano. It's gonna destroy Bikini Bottom, and everybody's kind of against each other, and you've got like politicians that are doing. The best song by far was "I'm Not a Loser" of the show, I think, sung by, and it was interesting because I remember when they did it for the Tony Awards, And I thought, oh, why did they pick I'm Not a Loser from the show for Tony Awards? Because it's only one person singing. And so I thought that was kind of funny. But now that I've seen the show, I'm like, that's the best song. So
That's why they picked it. You're like, okay, I see it.
Yeah. And I think that Squidward, the performance was also the best. And it was the most accurate to the show, which is fine. I don't really care that much, but I think it just made it more easier to get into character. But I don't know. I just thought it was more of a downer and it was less fun than I expected.
Well,
I expected it to be more fun.
I expect it to be a romping good time if I'm seeing.
Like, to me, the gold standard of that kind of thing is Shrek the Musical. It was so funny. I died laughing. Heart too. Well done characters. I mean, and I guess this is a little bit harder because they're actually they're creating their whole new story. They're not just retelling the movie. But I don't know. I just thought it would be more fun. I didn't think the book was that well done. The songs are hit and miss. There's a girl who plays Crab's daughter, and she was awesome. There's a high note that she has to hold that was really good. Oh gosh. But it's kind of amazing that the show works as well as it does, because I don't know if you knew, but every single song is written by a different person or group.
No, I did not know that. Was that like a thing that they were doing? Like, interesting.
Yeah. So they have Sarah Bareilles. They have They Might Be Giants, who did I'm Not a Loser. They have the Flaming Lips, Cyndi Lauper, John Legend, Panic at the Disco, Plain White T's, David Bowie.
So we got a lot of heavy hitters here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of amazing that it feels as cohesive and works as well as it does. My main problem was with the book. I thought, so it's Pearl is the name of the character. There's a song Daddy Knows Best, and I thought the girl they had was really good. She did a great job. But yeah, I was surprised that it wasn't more fun.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
So I saw The Light in the Piazza. That was really fun. This was at Hale Theater, and I saw that also in one of my 2006 trips on Broadway. So I got to see it with Kelly O'Hara and everything. And this production was very, very, very good, and beautiful music. I mean, the music is just stunning in that show, I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you see something. So you saw with Kelly O'Hara, like, how was that role when you saw it this time?
It was good. It felt even younger, and the Clara being even more like special needs. I think in this showing, she was just little more helpless. Yeah. And I remember a feeling for Kelly, but yeah, it was really, really great, really well done. Yeah. And I mean, for Hale Center Theater, they have two theaters. They have the main theater, and then they have the what they call the what is it, the light box, or anyway, they have two theaters, and they don't usually do things. They're usually pretty family friendly. So for them to have basically a bedroom scene was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
for
okay.
like the fiance. Like, okay, good. I saw Camelot at Hale Center Theater Orem, so it's one of the other in the franchise, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. All the songs. I went on a double two night. I did a double header with Camelot and then Catch Me If You Can. So that was a great day in my life.
You're like, let me just bask in the gloriousness of hours of theater.
Yeah, and I don't really love Camelot. I mean, it has some great songs, and it's a classic story, I guess. But I don't always just feel it's about an affair. So I was, but if ever I would leave you, and just some really
That's
great
so great.
songs. Yeah. So that was fun. I saw Hello Dolly at Pioneer Theater Company, which is one of the more professional companies. This Broadway level. The sets were incredible. It had Paige Davis. I don't know if you know her from Trading Spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was Dolly, so that was fun.
Oh, that's a fun role for her, and it's such an iconic role. I love that show.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not my favorite show, but as far as classic Broadway, but it's fun. I enjoy it, and I can't help but think of Wally whenever I see it.
Yes. On your Sunday
clothes. That's right. Let's see. I saw West Side Story. This was also at Hope Box, the one with the donations, and it was so good. It was great. This was an outdoor theater for them, and they had an incredibly diverse cast. There wasn't anybody pretending to be, a shark, which I really appreciate. And I thought Tony and Maria had incredible chemistry, and it was really interesting how they did Somewhere. So they had it basically kind of become a ballet, and they had Doc and his wife who'd passed away. They had them singing it, and then this ballet. It was very creative. I really appreciated they tried something different, and it was a very good production.
Especially with a classic like that, trying something different is always welcome, because there's so many wonderful things about the show that are staples, that trying something different, I think I'm always into.
Yeah. And then I saw the Scarlet Pimpernel, which is also not my favorite show. I think the songs are kind of but this I was a new theater I'd never been to, called Terrace Plaza, which is way up in Ogden. So that's why I've never been to it. It's like an hour away from me. But I've now been back, because I loved what they did. It was so good. The Percy was amazing. And then the Marguerite, she had like a very good French accent, and they did an amazing job on incredible costumes. The hair, the wigs were so good, like really high up and
like that. Yeah,
it was impressive. I really enjoyed it, and so that was really fun to kind of find a new theater, and also see a show that I hadn't really liked that much when I'd seen it before. Haven't done so well. I also saw Grease at the Ziegfield Theater, which is a great theater, also very far away from me. But it was interesting to see it, and I did a whole video on my channel about the difference between the stage and the movie. And I also talked about it for my Patreon for our AFI Passions project. I talked about Grease on there, so I've thinking Grease all over the place lately. But it's interesting, because I've always been like, I don't really like the ending of Grease. But since I watched the movie, I saw the musical, I tempered my dislike for the ending, I guess, because Sandy doesn't just change for Danny. She says to Frenchie that I want to not be afraid. I want to be confident. So that's why she puts on the tight pants and the, everything, not just for Danny, but for herself as well. So it made me more positive towards it, I think. And there are some songs and some characters that aren't really in the movie that are in the musical. And then they also add songs that were just in the movie that are now in the musical that weren't originally.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. In the one of the later revivals, then they added Hopelessly Devoted to You and Grease is the Word. And some of these songs that were written for the movie. So
I mean, Grease is one of those that, yes, I know what you're saying and what people have said about the ending and what does that say for Sandy's character, but I appreciate your perspective on that because I think it's a great way to look at it. And also it's so darn catchy.
So many bops.
So many bops.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I saw Hunchback of Notre Dame at the Kensington Theater, and it was an absolutely outstanding production. I said it was and I did a little, it was really fun. Actually, I did a post on the best of Utah theater in 2022. And so then I let the people know I had best actress, best actor, and I was really surprised that it seemed to mean so much to all these people, and it was
I
very
went
sweet.
back and I was looking at that, and they were so exciting. They were all reposting.
Yeah, that was cool. That was fun for me to feel like I could give back. And anyway, the Hunchback of Notre Dame was outstanding. I don't even love the animated movie that much, but they've changed it. When they made it a musical, they made it way better. And this was just an outstanding production. I've actually seen this also 3 times in this 100 thing randomly, but this was the best version I've seen. The sets, the singing, the visuals, everything, the costumes. They had a whole live orchestra.
Seriously?
Yeah, and that you don't normally see. Even Hale Theater, which is
Yeah.
Broadway level quality, they don't have live theater.
Yeah.
I mean, live orchestra. And I have never actually seen an orchestra pit, but this theater, there's literally like a pit, and the orchestra is down in there.
That's so fun.
And as they were like performing and stuff, I was just like, they would all get so close to this pit, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna
don't fall in.
Yeah. But it was very impressive. They were selling for $30. You could get a professionally recorded DVD of the production. I'm like, signing me up. I want that. Yeah, absolutely.
Get that for your girl. You know you want it.
Yeah. And then at Hale Theater, which again is this more professional one, and you pay for it. The tickets are like $60, so it's pretty expensive. They did Singing in the Rain, and it was perfect. It was so good. Obviously the rain choreography was incredible. The tap dancing was amazing. The acting. I've actually seen it a second time because I want to see the other cast. So I liked it that much that I'm seeing it twice.
That's such an iconic, fun musical.
Yeah. And I saw Hairspray here in Draper at the Outdoor Amphitheater, and they did an absolutely incredible job. It was so good. All of the costumes were outstanding, and it was my top pick for a comedy that I saw in 2022 so far, and everybody was incredible. All the talent, and it was so cool. In the Corny Collins scenes, they had a screen in the back, and they had somebody filming live there, and what they were filming was being projected onto the screen in the background.
That's so fun.
So it looked like a real live studio in doing the Corny Collins show. It was so cool. That. It was great.
That's so fun and so interesting to do that. Like,
yes,
I love it. So fun.
Oh, it's so good. And then and talk about bops. But the other thing that I think made it really special, and I'm so mad that I didn't get to go see it twice, but they had Edna and Wilbur. They cast them so they rotated each other's parts. So both of them knew all the choreography for each other. So on one day you'd see Edna, one day you'd see Wilbur in the role. And I just thought that added to the chemistry. Yes. It added to everything. And it was excellent. I mean, it's just amazing to me. You can see that level of quality for under $20. Unbelievable. So that was special. And let's see if there's, then I saw the last one I'll talk about is I saw In the Heights, and this was at West Valley, and they did an absolutely outstanding job. I wish you were here. I would take you. But
I love In the Heights.
Oh, it was so good. I mean, I just can't imagine it being done any better. All the singing was so good, and it had such heart, and I know just everything that they did in it, I thought was so well done. I loved it. I want to go see it again.
So meaningful.
Oh, it was so good.
And Bob.
Yeah. And then the last one I will say is this last weekend, I saw Arsenic and Old Lace, which is a classic play that's so funny. That is, and there's a movie with Cary Grant. I don't love the movie as much. There's something about that you really need that energy of the live performance for this ridiculous concept.
I've never seen the movie, but when I was very, very little, maybe like 6 or 7, my community theater did it. And even though it's not quite appropriate for a little kid, my parents took me because I didn't have much access to theater and I was obsessed with it. And I just remember thinking that the 2 ladies were like the funny, like there were so many funny, it was so funny.
Yeah, there were kids in our audience. And what's really cool about this is it's a Bluffdale City Park free. So
That's
if in it, the last, unfortunately, by when this airs, it'll already be done. But keep an eye on Bluffdale City Park because you can see shows for free. And that would be such a great way to introduce your children to theater without like the risk of, if they were to have a fit or whatever, it's free. And they gave free popcorn and snow cones at intermission.
What?
Yes.
Wait, so basically I will come out on top by going to this. I'll get
exactly. Plus you get to see a great show and laugh your head off.
Oh my gosh.
So there we go. Yeah, I've seen the plays that I saw in this 100. It's the 39 Steps, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, The Play That Goes Wrong, Treasure Island, Take Me Out, See How They Run, Body Awareness, Sense and Sensibility, which was so good. The Normal Heart, 6 Years Old, and Arsenic and Old Lace. So some pretty good plays.
And I know you're a musical gal, but that's a lot of good plays right there.
It really is. So it's been a great time, and I don't know if anybody will be interested in hearing me talk about all these plays, but I'm just so grateful for you letting me do this.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I wish when we were in California together we had time to see a show, but we probably won't.
That would be so fun. I wonder if we could make that happen.
If you can get in early on the 3rd, Ruth and I are trying to go see a show that night.
Oh, you are? Darn.
Yes, but I'm around. So if you want to try and see a show, maybe we can figure something out. If not, we'll just hang. We'll be hanging all week.
Well, one of these days we will definitely do a Utah trip for you though.
Yes.
For sure. So.
Oh my gosh, there's so much theater. I mean, obviously I want to hang with you, but there's so much theater. It just gets me all excited.
It's a great place to live. So let us know if you're listening, if you've made it this far. If you made it this far, put in hashtag Jax and Rage Broadway. Then we'll know that you listened to this whole rambling thing. But yeah, so 100 shows, amazing talent, amazing people, incredible experience, incredible art. I just love it so much. And I just feel so blessed to have had this experience. So let us know what you have been seeing, what you've been watching. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I also have seen a number of pro shots. I saw Come From Away on Apple TV. Amazing. Anything Goes. I saw that in cinema in the London show with Sutton Foster. Unbelievable. Trevor the Musicals on Disney Plus. I think it's at like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. I do not understand that. I thought it's tough. It's brutal. But it was, I thought, really moving. She Loves Me, which is perfect. I love that show. With Zachary Levi and Laura Benanti. That's on Broadway HD. It's so good. Being Mr. Wickham, which it has the same actor from Pride and Prejudice 1995 that played Wickham in this one-man show. Very fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I saw a friend of mine wrote a version of Persuasion for the theater that I watched that was really great. And she's awesome. Melissa Leone. And then I also saw Daddy Longlegs, which is one of my absolute favorite shows. I've seen it twice live, and then I've seen it on streaming. So it's such a good show. It's just a 2-person show, and the songs are great. And I think it's one of the most underrated shows on theater. I absolutely love it. So I highly recommend on Broadway HD watching Daddy Longlegs. It's so good. So there we go. That's everything. But Jax, Jax, where can people find you?
Jacqueline C tweets on Twitter and Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And check out rachelsmusings.net, where I post my theater recaps and other life updates and just my fun personal blog. But then also Utah Theater Bloggers Association. I'll put a link to my my articles on there. And so check that out. Also, make sure you check out the Hallmarkies podcast, where you can find lots of me and Jax all over the place.
There.
And please, if you're listening to this on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. Also have the Patreon group and merch store. Check out that. And thanks so much, Jax. You're the best.
This is fun.
Bye.